Welcome everyone to Wrasslin Raw!
You're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when the new generation took over the WWF. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Rhino Rico.
Don't be frightened. This is just the annoying return of the unkillable Pettingzoo, and things are getting spooky.
Unkillable.
Joe Gianetti.
You know, Bartlett, you remind me of a masculine RuPaul.
Oh, my. Yeah, thank you for that. I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett. We're going to examine WWE history, one episode of Raw at a time. But first, we have some news that we need to share out there to all of you Raw heads listening and downloading. Joe, will you please let everybody know what's going on?
Yeah, well, today's recording date is March 8th, and the WWE Network, our primary source for our content, is going to be switching to Peacock here in America on April 4th. So we're not sure what's going to happen after that. It sounds like they're going to keep all of the classic content, but we just don't know when it will be available at this point. So as far as the show goes moving forward, we're hoping to be able to continue the show if they put the Raw episodes up there on April 4th. If not, we hope to have some sort of a different type of show format until they get those Raw episodes up.
Thank you for that, Joe. So please bear with us, everybody. It's a very weird time for all of this.
Hopefully we'll get some news as we go here these next few weeks.
Yeah, most of that just came out like today.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have a little limited information as of right now.
And before you start jonesing for Wrasslin Raw, we have already been talking about how to supplement the time until that takes over. So worry not. You will not miss the dulcet tones of Wrasslin Raw. In this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be talking about the Raw that aired on October 30th, 1995. This Raw was recorded at the Keystone Center in Brandon, Manitoba, Canada, and features Vince McMahon and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Ready.
All right, then, let's get into it. This is a special Halloween edition of Monday Night Raw, and it starts with one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen, a close-up of Todd Pettingzoo. Pettingzoo is speaking in a Dracula accent. Ryan did a very good job of imitating it there earlier. He's actually not bad. He being Pettingzoo here is actually not bad at it until he crosses over into Sesame Street territory with the
It was like he started as Bela Lugosi and switched to the Count.
The Count. That's why I had to add the ha at the end, because, it just wouldn't complete it without it.
Zero love for Pettingzoo. This goes on for a while as Pettingzoo highlights most of the match card for us this evening, and before cutting to the Nitro Light intro. That takes us into the episode proper. Vince is dressed as a cartoon criminal, and it kind of looks like his smock is on backwards because the tie string is in front, and Lawler is dressed like a doctor but with Coke bottle glasses. Just real briefly, guys, what do you have to say about this? Joe, why don't you go first?
Well, first, with the intro song, you were saying it reminds you of something. To me, like it sort of sounds like the Peter Gunn theme a little bit. It kind of has that same melody going, I think. So listen to it next week. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, will do. Thank you.
As far as the costumes, yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's Halloween. I actually thought Lawler's doctor costume was really good.
Yeah.
I'd agree, yeah. Lawler's costume was very realistic, almost like he got it off Isaac Yankem.
Yeah.
Vince looked ridiculous in his cartoon.
Yeah.
And the thing I found kind of funny is, people always talk annoyingly about how he would force people to do annoying things like JR and the tunic thing was at WrestleMania 9.
Right. Yeah.
And but hey, kudos to him. Here he is looking ridiculous himself. So
Yeah.
My favorite part of that was when Lawler mentions to Vince, or I should say points out, didn't you get that about a year ago?
Yeah.
I think that was, I'm not positive on like the timing or whatever, but I'm pretty sure that was a veiled reference to the steroid trials, wasn't it?
Yeah, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that exchange is going to take us into our first match of the night. Goldust defeats Savio Vega by pinfall in 5 minutes and 46 seconds. I continue to love the high energy of Savio Vega, and it continues to be an excellent way to start the episode. This is just excellent. High energy, digging it. I also continue to love the entrance of Goldust. It is truly a spectacle, and you can't help having your attention drawn to it. Goldust is already looking better than his pay-per-view debut. The golden muffin top is slightly smaller than before. Either that or they have a better fitting outfit on him. I noted pretty quickly into the beginning of the match that there had to be piped-in audience noise going on because the crowd sounds made it seem like this was an enormous, vast echoing crowd, but the crowd looked kind of small and there weren't many people standing or cheering or making any noise whatsoever that I could see, so I think they were fucking with us on that one. Not sure if it was because Goldust was up against Savio Vega this time around or what, but Goldust was doing a much better job of working here. This is much closer to the Goldust that I remember from back in the day. I'm not sure where Vince got the idea that Goldust is comparable to Grace Slick, which is the first person that he names. I was trying to think of all the different iterations of Grace Slick from Jefferson Airplane to Starship and beyond, and he doesn't look like her at all. But then he does make a somewhat better reference to RuPaul, only somewhat better. But at about that point that I was seriously considering muting this, because I was having a hard time with the terrible jokes and puns and overall poor filler talk from commentary. This continued throughout the night. I won't mention it again, but suffice it to say that commentary was a little bit insufferable in this episode. Goldust dodging Savio's spinning heel kick was a good-looking piece of work all around by both workers here. And finally, Goldust hits Savio with a really interesting pinning combination to get the 3 count and the win. I think this was a much better showing for Goldust all around, and Savio did not disappoint either, as per usual. Ryan, what did you think of the Raw debut of Goldust here?
Completely agree. This was a much better match than the In Your House match against Marty Jannetty. So that was good to see. And Bartlett, would you know how much was the time in between the taping of In Your House and this Raw? Because they're still in Canada, so...
Yeah, so I want to say, because all of this was this was probably the very next day, I would think. I'm not sure about that, though. I'm not positive.
Him getting in better shape is probably not possible.
Yeah.
If it's just the next day. So I guess maybe they just, found him a more fitting costume. I don't know.
They stretched it out a little.
Yeah, stretched it out a little bit. But doesn't really matter. It looks better. From bell to bell, this was a better match than the Marty Jannetty match, which makes it sad that why didn't we just have Savio Vega against Goldust and maybe we could have had a decent match?
Yeah.
Because, there was nothing standout. There's nothing completely memorable about this match. It was just a good, solid match that he came out and established himself as a heel, and he kind of did that in the In Your House match. It was just the match itself was not good. The crowd, it was odd because there was groupies as well. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They might have been piping in sound, but Goldust already has some groupies, which was great to see. Like a whole row of college-aged boys dressed up like Goldust. That was great. And then it ended very well, too, with him ducking Savio's kick into that weird pin where Lawler points out, take advantage of the injured shoulder that he's been working on all match. So that was pretty good. And with the commentary outside of that tidbit that Lawler adds at the end there, it was kind of annoying and not nearly as good as the JR Lawler 1-2 that we were getting for Goldust at In Your House. So that was the one thing that was better at In Your House. But overall, this match was pretty good.
Yeah, just to leverage off of a lot of your comments, I think that as far as his physique, he's still looking a little bit flabby, but I just want to comment on how well Dustin Runnels has aged over the years. I mean, he looks fantastic 25 years later. So yeah, I'm sure we'll see a change in that as we go on here. But like you said, there was nothing memorable, but it was certainly a better match. And I think it was because of his opponent, to be honest. Savio Vega really brings a lot of energy. He knows how to energize a crowd. And I think that sort of went well for getting heat on Goldust. Like you said, Ryan, he came off as a better heel in this match. Very clever pin using that injured shoulder of Savio to his advantage was nice. Yeah, so I just thought that this was good. As far as the commentary, it seems like they are increasing the ball busting a little bit, which is, I don't know, maybe they're just in a good mood because it's Halloween and they're dressed up and having fun. I don't know, but it was a little bit...
Maybe had a couple drinks before the show started.
Maybe, yeah. It was a little too much.
Yeah, great points all. And that interesting pin... I'm glad that you both picked up on that as well, because it's almost like it takes Goldust from just being a weird-looking guy and gives him that extra layer of, hey, wait a second, he can pull off a little bit of a technical move here. He's just that much more interesting now, that much more worth paying attention to because of that really kind of technical and creative way to end the match.
Or like at the very least, like savvy.
Yeah. Yeah, just all in all, adding some depth to Goldust, and that's very good, considering so many of these people are just really, really shallow wrestlers at this particular time. Diesel. Let's move on now to the Survivor Series Slam Jam. And take a look at Doc Hendrix. He's dressed in the Wrasslin equivalent of a business suit. That means a denim shirt and jeans with a tweed jacket, and his face painted like a jack-o'-lantern. Doc has fresh news for us about the WWF title match that's coming up at Survivor Series. And surprise, surprise, it's stipulations. It's going to be no countout, no DQ, and no time limit. These are all ways that interim president and fan-friendly person all around Gorilla Monsoon has come up with to address problems that have cropped up in the recent past in championship matches. And I would add that the problems that have cropped up in recent past championship matches have mainly been due to additional stipulations. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. We're going to find out. I was very interested to see these particular stipulations, but at the same time a little disappointed to hear that we can't just have a clean fucking match. But wait, Doc, what's this? We're getting word that there's an altercation in the locker room, and we switch over for a 2-second flash of Razor Ramon and the 1-2-3 Kid arguing before cutting to commercial. This is another little issue they were having in this episode, these commercial breaks and poor timing and during production. The commercial is another Pettingzoo voiceover. This time he's attempting a Howard Cosell impersonation. And, I mean, it was all right. This is to highlight karate fighters. And it's got Hakushi and Barry Horowitz there, who are going to be taking each other on using the karate fighters that are sponsoring the upcoming Survivor Series. I'm very sorry to say that Barry Horowitz was in his full Poindexter gimmick. That was very sad to see. But they do go at it with their karate fighters, and I'm very pleased to note that Horowitz wins! Horowitz wins!
That was so great they added that in there.
And of course, they play Hava Nagila in the background. Before we move on past this, just briefly, Ryan, what did you think about our Survivor Series Slam Jam and that Karate Fighters commercial?
So the Survivor Series Slam Jam, Doc still just, man, the Coke energy that comes out of this guy is next level. He just can't stand still, moving side to side, and the camera got to follow him.
And in this one, he looks like Darth Maul. He's got that face paint.
Yeah. Bartlett, I know with these gimmick matches or there's stipulations, that's usually annoying. I don't typically mind a no count out, no DQ, no time limit type match. That to me is a pretty standard, match that's been around forever that's just saying we are going to have a winner here and the belt will change if it's the other guy, no matter what. So I don't mind that. It's not a foot match or a cage above a cage match or, this is just a standard style match in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, just to clarify, all I meant by that is that if I'm going to have stipulations, these are the best possible stipulations to have. So I do concede that to you, but okay. I would prefer none at all. But if we have to have some, this will work.
The Razor Ramon thing in commercial, I'll comment. Actually, I won't now. I think I'll save that for the end. I mean, the whole end of the show, not this segment, because... But the Hakushi Barry Horowitz thing, I kind of loved this whole thing. I don't know if it's just because it's with Horowitz and this great toy that I had when I was a kid and remembered these karate fighters. This whole thing was great to me. So I could watch more of this. I wish we could replace the Marty Jannetty jobber match with a longer Hakushi Horowitz karate fighter. Yeah.
Best of 3. I agree with that. Karate fighters got over in this commercial, not Poindexter or Hakushi. Going back to Doc Hendrix, I think that the Bret Hart versus Diesel match, this is probably the first heavyweight championship match that I've looked forward to since WrestleMania, probably. To me, the stipulations, I agree with Ryan, but the reason I agree with him is that it makes sense because it sort of continues that story that they had at the Royal Rumble, I think it was, where fucking Owen and Bob Backlund and like 4 different guys came in to interrupt the match. So to me, it makes sense to do that as long as they remind us of that.
Yeah. Again, if they have to do it, that's the best way to do it, but I just can't help but think, now this just guarantees that we're going to have interference. We're going to have a whole bunch of shit that isn't necessarily, well, let me rephrase that. We're going to have a whole bunch of shit that can potentially be just zero value filler going on in this match. So I'm keeping an open mind on this. I'm not ruling out any enjoyment, and I'm not saying that I fucking hate it or anything like that. It's just...
I mean, with a no DQ, they could probably even have the ring explode, but then not...
Oh, God.
Just be a puff of smoke, right?
Yeah.
Sparklers, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll wait and see with that. Overall, I mean, Survivor Series is not something I typically look forward to, so...
If I wanted a ring to explode, I would want it to happen in this next match.
Yeah. Let's get over to that. Let's get over to my 5 notes in our next match. Marty Jannetty defeats Joe Dorgan by pinfall in 2 minutes and 44 seconds. Joe Dorgan didn't look half bad in this, at least in the first minute or so, which is literally half of the match. It mostly kept up, but this is all dependent on the fact that Gianetti just looks like Gianetti. And I'm not sure how better to clarify that for you guys and our listeners. Watching this match, you watch it and it's yep, that's definitely Marty Jannetty in there working. And that's not a bad thing, but it's also not a good thing either. I got the impression that Gianetti just works this way like he did in this match, no matter what venue he's in. So he can be on a national television program in front of literally millions of people, and he would work this way. Or he would be in a VFW parking lot, and he would work this way.
And to the same music.
Probably from the same speaker. I would imagine it's one of those little portable CBs with the attached radio.
With 400 tassels on his gear.
Yeah. And before you know it, the match is over. At 2 minutes and 44 seconds, I was not expecting more than a serviceable match, and that's pretty much what I got. There's not many negatives or positives about it. Joe, as our resident Gianetti head, what did you think of this match?
I don't have much to add. I think that you pretty much hit it on the head there. Marty Jannetty is very vanilla, very bland, just nothing exciting about him. But for some reason, some crowds are still excited to see him. So it's very unusual. Joe Dorgan, to me, first off, he has a hot bod. Okay, if you didn't know that.
He is a former Jobber of the Week, if you guys remember.
Yeah, he was Johnny Parise, right? Or Johnny Parise.
Correct.
On the tights, hot bod, of course. In seriousness, though, Joe Dorgan does not look like a jobber to me. He looks like... It doesn't surprise me that he had some small success later on, as Ryan told us when he was Jobber of the Week. So that's really what I got out of this. I was just thinking, wow, Joe Dorgan actually looks pretty good here. And that was pretty much it.
Kind of the same as you two here. Not many notes outside of Joe Dorgan looks solid, especially for a jobber, not looking bad at all here. And Marty Jannetty looked like Marty Jannetty. Vince, at the very beginning, I did find this funny. He's talking about all the kids dressing up, and he mentions the Power Rangers. And I immediately think to Avatar's debut from last week and was thinking, people here were dressing up as the Power Rangers as well, but in the match, short and to the point. 1, 2, 3. Marty Jannetty, anytime you see him, you just kind of hope no one's neck gets broke. And if that happens, you move on. And that's a small victory. And that's what we got here. A small victory.
I was wondering, do you think that every time Gianetti comes out and they don't get the crowd pop that they want for him, they add another tassel? That's how he got so many tassels, but that's why it seems to keep on getting worse and worse. He's starting to look like a fucking chia pet. We should keep our eyes on that as time goes on, just to see how furrier he gets. All right, well, we're going to move it along to the next segment, which is Next Week on Raw. Next Week on Raw, Hakushi has been trying to make amends. And just hold on a goddamn second. We find out that Hakushi and Bret Hart are going to team up against Isaac Yankem and Jerry the King Lawler on Raw next week. My mind was blown by the combination and continuation of both of these Bret Hart, Jerry Lawler angles. I was speechless for a couple minutes after seeing that, because just when you think the angle is done and over with, it just keeps coming back. I don't know if this is a Halloween edition zombie joke. It just can't fucking die and won't stop coming back. I don't know. But also next week, Marty Jannetty versus the British Bulldog? Man, what a push for Marty.
Sure hope that doesn't play into the next segment at all.
Yeah. First a pay-per-view match for Marty, and now he's taking on a recent participant in a title defense? Like what the fuck? Not even joking. Like, why? Why is Marty Jannetty getting this much positive attention? But now we're going to go to Vince McMahon in the ring. He's there ready to interview Jim Cornette and the British Bulldog. And at first I was very concerned that we were going to have Jerry the King Lawler talking over all of this interview. He began to for a sentence or two at the very beginning, but he knocked it off after that. So quite happy to report that. Cornette is there to pitch the idea that Gorilla Monsoon promised that the winner of the Bulldog Diesel In Your House match would take on Bret Hart at Survivor Series. And since the Bulldog technically won, the Bulldog should be in the picture at Survivor Series, and Monsoon is now backtracking with these new match stipulations. And this is just all the way to say that the Bulldog has been continuously passed over in the title scene, despite getting a title match recently. Once again, overly complicated. I love Jim Cornette, but we shouldn't need someone out here to explain the angle to us once again. Lawyer Clarence Mason is here in the ring with them, and he ends up more or less cutting a promo for us. It was fairly well done for an amateur. I was moderately impressed by the lawyer promo that we got out of him. Up until this point, the Bulldog hasn't said a word throughout any of this. He's off to the side and flexing relentlessly. The Survivor Series wildcard match is also brought up and discussed, and by discussed, I mean Cornette has to list and explain all of that too. I did love Cornette saying that the Bulldog and Gianetti having a match next week makes no sense. Finally, the Bulldog does get on the mic, and that was old school, and it was well done. It was short, to the point, and full of just raw energy, saying, "Here I am, I'm coming for you," basically. And this is where things go to shit, because Marty Jannetty then comes out, tassels streaming as he runs down the entryway, slides into the ring, and he gets everybody but Clarence Mason to bump for him. And it looks like the Giannetti Bulldog angle is going to get even more attention. I can't wait to see how that turns out next week. Joe, we had a lot in this segment. The announcement of that weird tag match next week, the Bulldog and Gianetti, and all of that splaining that Cornette had to do. What did you think of it all?
Well, we finally get rid of Lex Luger, and now we're dealing with Marty Jannetty. And, man, it's awful. But back to the Bret Hart and Hakushi thing, I guess, I don't know, maybe we missed some stuff in Superstars. Like, Hakushi's just a babyface now. I don't know what we missed there.
It seemed like they showed us a few seconds of shots that must have been from Superstars of Barry Horowitz taking him around doing things that we didn't get to see. Sadly, I'm sad we missed those.
Yeah. I guess it would be better if Hakushi had a match last week and Yankem interfered. Then maybe this would make more sense to me. I don't know. It's just, it seems so sort of random, but I'd rather see them play best 2 out of 3 karate fighters than have a match. But British Bulldog interview I thought was okay. I'm just wondering to myself, what's the point? It's like they're just mad at Gorilla Monsoon. They're complaining about Gorilla Monsoon, but where are they going with this? Do they want another match with Diesel? Do they want a match with Bret Hart for no title? Like, I'm just confused about what all of this is. I mean, I thought everything was okay, well done, but I just don't understand what the point of this is. Maybe we'll get more of that as we go.
To start with the matches, Hakushi, Bret Hart, those guys are interesting, but they're together here against Isaac Yankem and Jerry Lawler. I don't know. They just cranked up those mouth puns to 11 again and threw them out, and I guess we just...
That canker sore.
Yeah, we just can't get rid of it. It is a canker sore. So, I don't know. It probably will not be great. Marty Jannetty, Bulldog, I probably could say the same thing, right? The whole thing with Cornette, I kind of agree it was all done well. I thought it was a bit long. Like maybe they ran out of matches tonight and they were just trying to fill out the card, because I thought this was a lot of time that they kind of wasted here, kind of giving everyone a shot talking. The guy, Clarence Mason, the lawyer here, though, complete agreement. Good job for an amateur. He pulls off a good, arrogant, pompous, condescending lawyer for not being a wrestler. Good job by him. I also enjoyed them recreating, once Marty Jannetty came to the ring, the Rocky V Touch Me I'll Sue scene.
Oh, yeah.
I did get a good laugh out of that, so... Unfortunately, it did involve Marty Jannetty in trying to set up this match with Bulldog, which, as I said, I'm sure will be forgettable.
Yeah, Clarence is an attorney in real life, so he must have used those skills to cut that little promo there.
He does have a flair for public speaking. So I wanted to ask you both, because I'm honestly unsure about this. Is it just me, or is it a bad sign that you have to have somebody methodically detailing the angle like this? Like we've had in the past with some of the stipulations, and now with this.
Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah.
Somebody, and apparently the only person that they can get to do this is Cornette.
Do we want another 20-minute leg injury match? Is that what we want?
Yeah. Okay. Well, like I said, I was starting to worry that it was just me, because it seems to happen quite a bit recently. All right. Well, now that we're through that, we're going to go now into our next match. the Smoking Guns, Billy and Bart, defeat John Reckner and Otis Apollo in 2 minutes and 51 seconds. And John Reckner is our Jobber of the Week. Take it, Ryan.
Thank you, Jason. John Reckner is this week's jobber. John Reckner was born Jonathan Reckner on April 11th, 1972 in Spring Lake Heights, New Jersey, and was trained by Larry Sharp at the Monster Factory, debuting in 1987 at the age of 15. He has used the ring names John Rittner, Abdullah Singh, Abdullah Den, Boo Bradley, Cojones,
Cojones.
Santa Claus.
Oh, boy.
And Balls Mahoney.
Oh.
Yeah. John spent the late 80s and early 90s in the independent circuit in New Jersey before spending 94 and early 95 with Smoky Mountain Wrestling. In late 95, John would join the WWF and work a few jobber matches, but is mostly known for his In Your House 5 match against Savio Vega, playing a corrupted Santa Claus that was turned by, you guessed it, Ted DiBiase, who was behind it all along.
Can't wait.
He would leave the WWF shortly after the In Your House match, and in 96 join ECW, using the ring name Balls Mahoney. As Balls, he would become a star for ECW, and I certainly remember him well.
Yeah.
He would come to the ring to the AC/DC song Big Balls and lead the crowd in singing the chorus to the song before and after his match. He stayed with ECW until they closed in 2001, often teamed with Axel Rotten, a similar hardcore style wrestler, and they both had long ongoing feuds with the Dudley Boys. After ECW closed their doors in 2001, John moved into the independent circuit for the remainder of his career, occasionally popping back up in WWE for a ECW gimmick match to reprise his Balls Mahoney role. His final match was on June 12, 2015, winning a Flaming Tables match against Shamaimo at a event at Rockpile West Club in Toronto, Canada. John was known for his tattoos, which included a dragon, a pentagram, and a tattoo dedicated to deceased wrestler and namesake of his son, Chris Candido. Rickner and Candido were childhood friends who started in the wrestling business together and both trained at the same time at the Monster Factory. John was also a proud longtime member of the Church of Satan. And on August 21st, 2010, Rickner was charged with a disorderly conduct charge after brandishing a knife during a staged fight with fellow wrestler Calypso Jim in South Brunswick, New Jersey. The fight was meant to drum up publicity for an upcoming match they had, but it went wrong. On April 12, 2016, a day after his 44th birthday, John Reckner died suddenly at his home in Spring Lake Heights, New Jersey, while watching Jeopardy with his wife. His autopsy showed that he died of a massive heart attack, but was also revealed that he was suffering from CTE as well. His family was part of the class action suit on CTE against the WWE that was dismissed by a U.S. judge back in September of 2018.
Well, I'm ordinarily not sentimental over some of these jobbers, but I am not going to joke around and shit talk this one because I was a pretty big fan of Balls Mahoney in ECW, and the way that the whole CTE thing went down, and looking back on his career and all of the very fucking stiff head chair shots he took, not surprising and kind of fucking tragic.
Well, I mean, the chair was his signature thing. I mean, yeah, he basically had it with him constantly. Yeah.
I don't really know too much about Balls Mahoney. I never really paid too much attention to ECW too much, outside of the big name guys like Sabu and Sandman and Shane Douglas and all them. So I didn't know. I don't know too much about Balls Mahoney.
Yeah, he was, Ryan, would you say of the brawler style? I mean, he wasn't a very clean wrestler
no, certainly
at all,
not.
But,
and you know, he, like you said, he wasn't a giant star. You know, he was a good mid-carder for them. You know, he never quite hit that stratosphere like some of the stars did, but wasn't a bottom tier guy by any means for the company.
Yeah.
I did get to see Balls Mahoney and Axel Rotten wrestle at the Butler County Fair one year. ECW had an event set up at the fair. I want to say that was 1997 or 98. I'm not sure which year. But yeah, I was able to see Balls Mahoney live there, and I was also able to see Balls at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center whenever I went and saw an ECW house show down there. So
nice.
Very happy to be able to say that, and thank you, Ryan, for a breakdown on somebody that is very well appreciated on this end of the microphone.
Here too.
Well, back in the match, we start this match by talking about some other match, mostly focusing on the 1-2-3 Kids temper tantrum at In Your House 4. Otis Apollo, he looked pretty decent in his opening sequences. And quick question to the both of you, whoever might have an answer. We've tossed the name Apollo back and forth. There is Phil Apollo, which is who I originally thought this was. There's Ray Apollo, and one of this Otis Apollo might be a third person, I don't know. But one of those was Donk. Is this Donk?
Ray Apollo is Donk.
Ray was Donk. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know, this guy is a somewhat mediocre wrestler. He's got a bit of a gut, you know, put some clown makeup on him, and he probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
I didn't see any knee braces, though.
Oh, good point. Yeah, good call there. He did look decent. Not gonna go down on him too hard here with that stuff, but he wasn't great, but he was decent. John Reckner didn't have a very good showing, but then again, he really didn't get a chance to have any offense. Let's keep in mind that this was a 2 minute and 51 second match, and Reckner was in there to get his ass kicked, pretty much. While he's there getting his ass kicked, we get a picture-in-picture cut screen to some comments from the 1-2-3 Kid. The Kid apologizes to the Smoking Guns. He addresses his most recent behavior and how he treated them. But he also firmly requests a rematch for the tag titles with Razor Ramon. Towards the end of this match, Vince calls Reckner Do More or L'Amour or something. That was the closest that Vince or anybody got to identifying this particular participant in the match. He did name Apollo, but we got no information otherwise on his tag team partner. I guess this was just more shit that commentary couldn't be bothered with. And then it's over. Not much was really going on in this jobber squash match. Ryan, what did you have on it?
It's hard to add much because it's nothing but interruption from the match. So it is tough to get a real understanding of either of these jobbers, because immediately we go to the 1-2-3 Kid doing the split screen and him apologizing. So now it is confusing. I thought it was clear he turned heel. Now they are making it confusing to me, because now he's apologizing. He seems to still be friends with Razor in the back. So that's odd. We come back. We got some time for the movie copy to fit that in. There's just no time for this match. It was just kind of, for me, exciting to see Balls Mahoney in there, I guess, regardless if it's just him getting beat on. So the Guns pull off their impressive finisher, and 1-2-3. Typical ignore your jobber match. That's what we got here, and we move on, I guess.
Yeah, Otis Apollo started the match, and to me, I have noted that he kind of looks like a guy who just finished a shift at a New York pizza shop. Like he just finished his shift, and he's in here to wrestle. And then the other guy comes in, and I say, wow, actually both of them kind of look like they just finished a shift at a pizza shop.
New Jersey, not
New Jersey, yeah. This was a weird match. A question for you guys. Do you happen to notice if the referees are wearing earpieces in 1995? I assume they are, but I don't know.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
This referee bends down to tell Billy Gunn something, and I'm assuming it was, hey, you got to you got to go home.
Yeah.
And they ended the match. And then when the referee was handing the belts to them, Billy was like running his mouth, like he was pissed. So something happened, whether someone told the ref to tell them to go home or maybe somebody was injured. Like, I don't know, but it was really weird. And yeah, I don't really have much to say about the match, to be honest.
It was probably that last segment ran long and they didn't
Most
have
likely,
enough
yeah.
time. Yeah.
And that does fit with just the kind of overall timing issues that are going on throughout this episode. All right, we will move it along. Bret Hart cuts a promo for us next. And the one line that stood out to me whenever he's addressing Diesel is, "It's a tough thing when friends have to go to war, but this is war." And thank you, Bret, for basically saying friendship can piss off. Because it's not a good theme, and I am looking forward to zero friendship going on. Bret caps it off by saying to Diesel, "Big boy, meet the truck stop," indicating himself, and I thought that was pretty clever. You know, it's, for me personally, Bret Hart promos are kind of hit or miss, but that really wasn't too bad. Just real briefly, guys, Joe first, what'd you think of it?
Well, to me, a heel Bret Hart is always a hit. And yeah, sometimes these babyface promos miss a little bit, but this one was okay. And I'm excited to see him move on to something else other than Jerry Lawler and Isaac Yankem.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's where I'm at. This is an actual match that means something, and you could tell he doesn't seem defeated in this promo. So that's good to see.
Yeah, agreed. And I think it's funny that you said it's nice to see him moving on, because on the way to that match, he's going to have both of them in the fucking ring at the same time.
Well, that's to finish it off.
Well, we've thought that before. Let's hope that that's the truth this time. There's going to be another commercial for that WrestleMania arcade game. That still just looks really intriguing. I have nothing to report on my research there as to which port.
Well, I have nothing that I looked at just while watching the commercial with more of a focused eye this week. I noticed one thing immediately. The animation looked very, very Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
So then at the end, it was Acclaim. So same people that's who does Mortal Kombat. So I'm assuming what they did here is they've taken the Mortal Kombat engine and are using it for this wrestling game, which at that time was, that was the best fighting game out there. So that's probably why this looks so good.
Okay.
Yeah. Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 were probably out by then, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Joe, you said you had the Super Nintendo version of this, right?
Yes. Yep.
And it did not have the crazy NBA Jams interactions on
No,
it,
I don't recall, unless there was some sort of a Game Genie or cheat code or something. I don't recall that.
Okay, so I did pay attention to the other platforms that it was ported to, and the original PlayStation was one of them, so I'm willing to bet that the crazy game interactions is probably a PlayStation and PC feature.
I think I'll have to get it for the PS1 then. I got a PS2 and they're backward compatible to the one as long as you got the fat guy one. Mm-hmm. So I might have to do that.
Yeah, or what Ryan said, maybe the arcade version has that.
I'll tell you, the PS1 version would probably be very close, as well as the PC would be very close to the arcade.
All right. Well, we will continue to keep our listeners updated on the WrestleMania arcade game, because I personally am not going to let it go, because that game looks really fucking cool.
Maybe you can get a hold of the mayor of merchandise.
Speaking of, we're going to go now to our final match of the night. Razor Ramon defeats Owen Hart with Jim Cornette by disqualification in 10 minutes and 16 seconds, and thus retains the WWF Intercontinental Championship. What can make an Owen Hart entrance even better? Throw Barry fucking Dudensky into the mix. And a status update on that, I did some pretty significant searching earlier today. There is virtually zero additional information about Barry fucking Dudensky out there on the internet, let alone autographed merch that I could buy for all of us. So
that's sad.
I'm going to keep working on that. I turned my attention to social media and putting my stalking skills into effect.
I searched for him a little bit too, and the most I found was he was number 1 on a list of personalities that you forgot about from 90s wrestling.
No surprise there. Somebody powerbombed him and he just kept on going.
Unkillable.
I am hopeful that his career has receded enough that he would be open to getting paid some cash to sign a couple of photos. We're gonna find out moving forward here, if I can actually get a hold of him.
Or maybe a little question answer while we lose the network. Maybe we could have an interview with him.
Well, that's ideal. I'm just not sure how much that's going to cost us, because if there's one thing that we know about the mayor of merchandise, it's that everything has a price, and that is not a Ted DiBiase reference. The mayor of merchandise has some replica belts and glossy 8x10s of superstars here for us. Specifically, he's got a championship replica belt. This comes with 8x10s of Diesel and a replica of the IC belt that comes with 8x10s of Razor Ramon. Don't think any of those were autographed. This is an exclusive offer because, they don't sell those belts on the call-in line. That's something that you can only get at live events, but they're making an exception this time. And I can't help but wonder, I don't know, we're only on October 30th, 1995 here, but it kind of seems like they're trying to unload as much Diesel Championship merch as they possibly can. I don't know why they would want to do that, but all right. We're going to do something here that I kind of didn't like, but I kind of liked at the same time, and that's delay the match further. But it's going to be with a Paul Bearer promo. I didn't like the fact that we had this here after the match was already mostly started with entrances and everything, but it is a Paul Bearer promo, so I can forgive it this time. Good stuff yet again. I'm pretty sure that I remember this promo from back in the day, actually. Paul Bearer's freaking out about how the Undertaker's face is too gruesome to be seen, and then he has a mild conniption fit on the screen. Always good to see Paul Bearer. Back in the match, the entrances were still happening, and after a bit of a crazy entrance with Razor running down and clearing the ring, I loved Owen Hart stomping up the stairs like a pissed-off child to get back into the ring. Something about that was just great and really tickled me. I was fairly engaged in this match as it began and as it kept going. Nothing was really jumping out at me, but it was partially because I was kind of locked into things. I was intrigued. And I didn't have anything negative at all to note either until we got the view of Yokozuna waddling down to the ring with Mr. Fuji.
He has no business being out here.
Yeah, honestly, that followed by the almost immediate commercial break, it completely took me out of the match. That happy place that I was in before, gone. When Owen hit Razor with a baseball slide into the outside barrier, that really did look like Razor got a tooth knocked out. That looked pretty legit. Owen Hart's elbow drop from the top rope, Macho Man Randy Savage style, that looked great. He got some excellent elevation with that. But on the pin count following that elbow drop, we cut to commercial. Poor timing there, and even poorer content to cut to. Pettingzoo pitching the World Tour de Force. Ugh. And then another commercial break. This comes back to Yokozuna interfering in an attempt to save Owen from the Razor's Edge. That, of course, is what gets us the DQ to end the match officially. Then the 1-2-3 Kid comes out to save Razor from the ongoing assault. This becomes more and more of the kind of thing that I dislike until Ahmed Johnson hits the ring and is there face to face with Yokozuna, and then shows us the best possible body slam that a human being could possibly perform on Yokozuna. This was much better than Luger's hip toss aboard the USS Intrepid. This was an actual body slam, again, on a 700-pound human being, so there was no way that was ever going to be perfect, but...
He weighs 100 pounds more than he did when Luger slammed him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's no shit either. That's serious, and that's unfortunate. Johnson looks great as we close out the episode with the Bulldog running down and the Bulldog and Johnson circling each other in the ring, and our final view is of Ahmed Johnson flicking his tongue at the Bulldog salaciously. I thought that was a pretty decent exit, all things considered. Joe, please get us going on the match and the way that Raw ended tonight.
Well, first with the mayor of merchandise, the $20 belts with the photos is a pretty good deal. I think that would be about $35 now, right? Somewhere around there. So yeah. Not bad. The Paul Bearer promo, I agree, poorly timed, but obviously it's great. And it's nice that they're working in the real life incident into the story. So that was nice. As far as the match goes, my first thought was that I was pissed that they didn't really explain what happened earlier in the locker room. I just wondered, they kind of brought it up, but what the hell happened? Nobody knows. And Yokozuna coming out and all the poorly timed commercials. I had high hopes for this match, but everything sort of ruined it. The random commercial break for the house show tour, what the hell was that? Right in the middle of your main event? That just makes no sense at all. I feel like it was just a missed opportunity to have a great match, but this introduction to Ahmed Johnson, holy shit. Have we seen a better debut?
No.
I don't think we have.
If we have, it's been a long time.
So we do slam the booking in 1995 quite a bit, but I have to say this was a great way to introduce a guy who looks like that to the audience. I mean, the guy is a fucking house. He's huge, and he comes out and slams this 700-pound man. It wasn't picture perfect, but it looked realistic, because he slammed him and he kind of stumbled after doing it. I loved it. I thought the finish was fantastic. And like I said, easily for me, this was the best debut of a new wrestler from the time we started this podcast.
Well, again, I like you two. I'll start at the beginning here with the mayor of merch, Barry fucking Dudensky. And these things were pretty cool. I mean, I know if I was a kid, some phone championship belts and some glossies of, maybe of Razor, not Diesel, would be pretty cool to have. So some good merch they have that they're pushing right there. And the timing, very odd, but when Paul Bearer goes absolutely berserk like he did in this, how could you not love it?
And you could chat with him on AOL.
Yeah, right. But you could, how could you get the feeling of Paul Bearer through a chat room? Though?
I know.
The match, I thought it started off really good, especially that spot with the backflips. Owen first does that slick backflip reverse over Razor's head. And then he tries it again after commercial, and Razor catches him and just slams him down hard right on his back. And they're going back and forth pretty good together. And I'm saying, this is better than the Dean Douglas match. Why not put this on in your house? And then they completely botched this match by commercial break, shitty ending, disqualification, and they just ruin it. How do you do that to something that started off so well is beyond me. And, it's sandwiched between a great ending. Agree with you two here. Ahmed Johnson comes out and looks like a beast. We've commented how good he's looked over the last couple weeks in his promos, and here he is. Not the cleanest body slam. He didn't get a full rotation, but it wasn't a hip toss like with Luger. So I was excited for him. I just wish we could have ended this match a little bit better than poor editing and shitty disqualifications, though. So that was sad.
Yeah, agreed with all of that, especially on Ahmed Johnson. nothing much more can be said about that than you guys have laid out. But I would like to point out that if we're going through, like traditional kind of wrestling thinking on this, doesn't this treatment of Yoko by Ahmed, doesn't that effectively remove Yoko as a major threat and heel? We've kind of eliminated the mystique and the power that is Yoko in this one body slam.
I guess we'll see moving forward.
Yes and no. I mean, if Yoko's still the champion, then maybe, but he's not even tag champ anymore.
Yeah, great point there.
He's kind of on a decline anyway.
Not his weight, of course.
No.
Yeah.
Couldn't help but think that, only one other time has, I guess, really, Yoko has never been body slammed because that was a fucking hip toss that Luger gave him. So, it was just somewhat shocking. I mean, shocking in a good way, for Ahmed Johnson, because as we've said, a fantastic fucking way to debut on Raw here. But at the same time, it just kind of takes the teeth out of Yoko a little bit, I guess. All right. Well, as I said, that's the way that Raw ended, with that stare down between the Bulldog and Ahmed Johnson. So we're going to take it now to highlights and lowlights. Ryan, why don't you go first here?
Highlights, I was ready to give it to this final match until the whole shit at the end. And until they fucked it up with these commercial breaks and interruptions, it ruined that from being my highlight. So I ended up falling back to the Barry Horowitz karate fighter with Hakushi video. I wanted more of that. And if I could have got more of that, maybe we wouldn't have had my low light, which is the Marty Jannetty situation, including his match with Joe Dorgan. The match itself was boring, and then they wedged him into a feud with the Bulldog that I don't care about. And sadly, that's a common theme with the Bulldog as of late, putting him in feuds that I don't care about. So, low light, Marty Jannetty.
I'll start with my low light because we share the same low light, just Marty Jannetty in general. I don't need to see him every single week, which we have since he came back, and we saw him twice tonight, so I don't need that. That's my low light. And my highlight is easily Ahmed Johnson's debut. I think that it was just very well booked, and honestly, I think this might be at least top 3 highlights of 1995. For me, this was very well done. It was great. And the thing that kept it for me was just all the shit that just happened right before it just pissed me off so much. And then I got this and was like, man, that was good, but I'm still pissed. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. I guess the commercials sort of helped me in a way. It was like, well, fuck this match. I had high hopes going in, but the second commercial, I was like, fuck it. It's done. It really was a fantastic debut though. Yeah. Yeah. To have it be, cause every single other guy we get, the vignettes, and then we get their debut in the ring, their full entrance. But this was like, boom, there he is in the ring. It's like, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to be lining up with Joe on this one. First of all, 3 for 3 on Marty Jannetty. I just don't... Well, I don't care, first of all. But on top of that, I don't understand why. All of a sudden. It could maybe be cool that he's back and everything. Good for him, he's getting a paycheck. But at the same time, this is some pretty prominent booking for him right off the bat on this return, and I don't get it. I don't think he deserves it. It's not deserved. Yeah. I don't think he has earned or deserves any of the attention that he's getting here. Enough said about that. Highlight, definitely Ahmed Johnson. I've gone on record many times as saying I was a huge fan of Ahmed Johnson as a kid, and this did nothing to change that. I am still a huge fucking fan of Ahmed Johnson because I was legit excited as hell seeing him hit the ring. Good stuff. Good fucking stuff. All right. Well, Joseph, do you have any contemporary wrestling news from on and around October 30th, 1995 for us?
I do have a couple of notes from The Observer about tonight's Raw. First is Dave Meltzer's comments about the Goldust match. He said that the Goldust match was average, but he got a better reaction than the previous night. And I think that we all sort of agreed with that during our comments. Meltzer seems to be certain that this was the heaviest wrestler in history to go up for a body slam. He said that there was a tag team in the 70s called the McGuire Twins that weighed 700 pounds each.
Yeah.
And in the 1960s, a wrestler named Happy Humphrey that was billed at 802 pounds.
Ooh.
But none of them went up for a body slam. So Yokozuna was, he's now, 650 pounds or something?
Yeah, ballpark.
Heaviest wrestler to ever go up for a body slam. A few things to note outside of tonight's episode. Shawn Michaels is scheduled to return soon, so we can't forget about him being beat up by 75 thugs, and he will be back soon. Dean Douglas suffered a larynx injury from a Razor Ramon clothesline during their In Your House match.
Ugh.
Reportedly, he was coughing up blood after the match. And last note I have here is that it is being reported that one of the reasons the Avatar match had issues last week was that the ropes were not tightened after the Battle Royal, and they also remained slippery due to all of the baby oil that was used by the guys during the Battle Royal. Excuses.
Yeah.
And that is all.
Man, I don't know what to think about that last bit with the with the ropes and the baby oil. I mean, that kind of sounds like you say, just like excuses, but
I suppose it could be believable as well.
It could be real.
It sounds like Dave interviewed Al Snow and got those excuses.
All right. That's it, folks. We're done with this one. I want to thank you again for joining us. And if you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can find us on every major social media and podcast subscription platform by searching up the handle Wrasslin Raw. That's WRASSLINRAW. While you're there, don't forget to click subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review and let your friends know about the fastest growing wrestling podcast in the world. Next week on Wrasslin Raw, we're going to take a look at the Raw that aired on November 6th, 1995, with matches featuring Henry O. Godwin, Terry Richards, and many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason, and this has been Wrasslin Raw.